Hogwarts Legacy. I swear I'm going to make a video about the game itself at some point, once I've played more of it. In the meantime, we'll keep talking about the reaction and the pop culture wars surrounding it. I was asked by someone yesterday, why even bother calling yourself an ally if you can't even pass the most basic test? Which apparently means not playing Hogwarts Legacy. If you play Hogwarts Legacy, you have failed the ally test. Now, that's such an interesting word, right? Ally. I've been a vocal supporter of gay rights for as long as I've been aware of politics, and I guess I should say politically aware. Before the powers that be in the Democratic Party were favoring legalized gay marriage, I was all for it. But I've never really referred to myself as an ally. It sounds so pretentious to me. It's like calling yourself an ally if you support black people or something. I mean, of course I support the rights of all people of all races and religions and sexual orientations and whatnot. But I don't go around referring to myself as an ally because it sounds pretentious. It's like, hey, look at me. I'm one of the good white guys. Which seems to be like something that a lot of white guys are really concerned about, On the one hand, you've got like people who just don't give a shit and are total racist assholes. But then you've got the very, the precious, holier than thou types who are very, very insistent that other white people are bad, other men are bad, but they're the good ones. They're the good ones, girls. Those male feminists are the best, right? I mean, hey, it's one way to get laid. But I do consider myself, fundamentally an ally. I mean, you don't have to advertise it to sort of believe like I'm on that side, right? Like I want everyone to have their human rights and dignity. That's my politics. And so of course, but it's strange to me that the litmus test here is playing a video game. So, I asked why that was a test, and this person said, well, most trans people believe that it's transphobic to play this game. And so, I said, okay, well, what about the trans people playing this game? You can't call them not an ally. Are you going to call them like a gender traitor? Like, is that if a trans person plays Hogwarts Legacy, is that what this person did not, this was an online interaction. They did not appear to be a trans person, but who knows? They didn't claim to be, but apparently are speaking for trans people. But so what about the trans people playing Hogwarts Legacy? I guarantee you there are trans people out there playing the game because not everybody is part of this clique that is protesting it. Well, this person said, I said most trans people, not all trans people. Okay, so you statistically know that most trans people, well, let's say most trans gamers, are not playing this game. Most of them, this, are protesting it. Again, I don't know how you would know this, but that's the assumption, right? Because that's the assumption people make when they are chronically online and see this online contingent protesting the game. I have no idea how many trans people are playing Hogwarts Legacy, but I would wager there are some. So if I've failed the ally test, are they gender traitors? I mean, what is it? I mean, what's the calculus here? It's crazy to me. This person then said, okay, what if 99% of trans people, and we could calculate this somehow, but theoretically, came to you and said this game is offensive? Would you take down your glowing review of the game? Now, I don't have a glowing review of the game up, but I guess this is all hypothetical. And I said, hell no, I would not take down my review of the game if 99% of trans people came and told me that it was offensive, that this game was offensive. That's so unethical. It'd be like, okay, let's say that there's a piece of art that mocks Jesus Christ. Well, we've seen those before. Now, let's say that I, as an art critic, was like, this is an amazing piece of art. Yes, it's offensive, clearly so, but it's beautiful. It's subversive and fascinating. I am moved by this piece of art. And someone was like, well, what if 99% of Christians came to you and said, this is offensive, take down your review. I would say fucking no. Hell no. That is unethical. It makes you an untrustworthy critic or journalist. You don't go with the tide, or just to go against the tide, you speak your own truth. You don't take down your review because somebody is offended by the thing you're reviewing, or by your review because you're reviewing a thing that they're offended by. But this is the mentality that people have now. Now, this person's reaction was like, basically like, oh my God, you're such a hateful bigot. Like, I mean, even though I posited this alternative, like, well, I mean, what if it was Christians? What if they were offended? Would you still want me to take down my review? What if it was Republicans? What if it was conservatives? What if I'd made something really offensive to conservatives? Like, what if, or reviewed something offensive? You know, at what point do you draw the line? Who do you take your review down for? Who do you bend for? Who do you sacrifice your truth, your values, your ethics, who? And there's only one person the only way I'm taking down a review is if my editor, my boss, tells me to. Then you don't have a choice, you know? People have died for this shit. And I'm certainly not comparing myself to them, but I mean, like, you look at like the Islamic radical terrorist attacks in Europe over the Charlie Hebdo cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. No, those were offensive cartoons, and people died because they published those. Should they have taken them down just to appease people who would kill them? No, absolutely not. That's censorship. Even if it's not state-sanctioned censorship, it's still censorship. If you're censoring your beliefs, what you value, because some other group is telling you to, that's censorship. There's different kinds of censorship. It's not just one thing. Yes, we only have protection in the First Amendment from the state, but that doesn't mean that other forms of censorship don't exist and that we shouldn't be concerned by them. Now, of course, I am not praising Hogwarts Legacy because I support J.K. Rowling. Like I've said in the past, I have mixed feelings about where she stands on things. Some of the things I agree with, other ways she's handled this, I very much disagree with. But that's, again, I am separating the art from the artist here, especially because she didn't paint this picture, right? She wasn't actually involved in this game. And as I said in a previous video, once a creation is out there, it belongs to everybody. It is no longer Rowling's little baby. Even if she makes money from it, you know, it now also belongs to Warner Brothers, to Avalanche, to us, the critics and the gamers, and to the people who make fan art and fan fiction. And that's the truth for everything. That's everything. So no, I would not take down my posts about Hogwarts Legacy to appease people who are offended by the mere existence of J.K. Rowling. And part of this crazy culture we live in now is that we are no longer actually really even talking about anything. We're not talking about the game and the merits of the game. We're not talking about Rowling's actual arguments or the merits of her arguments. We're not really even talking about trans people anymore. We're just having this weird tug of war over a video game as a sort of proxy tug of war over Rowling, who has become more of a symbol than an actual person in all of this. I very rarely hear anybody say, I disagree with Rowling about XYZ. Almost always, I just hear Rowling has made anti-trans remarks. Rowling has transphobic remarks. Nobody actually quotes them. Now, I'm not saying that she doesn't have some baked-in transphobia. I mean, she has. I'm going to make a separate video about this. I'm going to go and look at everything she said, who she's retweeted, who she's, you know, the people she's aligned herself with. She is a mixed bag. That's all there is to it. She's a mixed bag. She's coming at it from her own perspective, and I understand where she's coming from, and that's another story. But we don't really talk about that most of the time. Her critics almost never, ever talk about what Rowling's actually said or done. They just say she's just become this avatar for this debate on both sides in a lot of ways. But really, I guess my point in all of this is that I don't know. Do I have a point? I just wanted to talk about this interaction, I guess, because it's just so crazy to me. It's so crazy that you would actually expect somebody to take their review of a video game down because a group of people were offended by that video game. Like you should be able to acknowledge that people are offended by it. You should be able to have a discussion about why people might be offended by it, but to actually say, well, I'm going to take my review down. If 99% of Nazis were offended by Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, does that mean I should take down my glowing review of Inglourious Bastards because it offends the Nazis? No, I'm not comparing trans people to Nazis. I'm just saying the fact that a group is offended, no matter what that group is, doesn't mean that the piece of art or fiction or video game or whatever it is inherently bad just because people are offended by it. And at some point in time, everyone is going to have to grow up and stop constantly focusing on whether or not their feelings are hurt. Yes, okay, yes, I know. That speech, that words, that ideas can lead to real-world harm. Bad ideas can put hateful thoughts into people's hearts, and those thoughts can turn into actions that can leave people hurt, physically hurt or dead. Yes, absolutely. That's always going to happen. That's never going to change. We have to find a way to not let things offend us so drastically and badly all the time. Because if every little thing does, how are we going to notice when the really bad stuff happens? If we're always offended, how are we going to differentiate between something that's truly dangerous and just everything else? How are you going to say that everybody who plays this game is a transphobe? And how are you going to, at that point, tell who the real transphobic people are? I mean, you're calling other trans people transphobic at this point. Well, it's internalized transphobia or something. I don't know. If you just constantly calling everybody a bigot, how do you tell who the real bigots are? Because they're out there, and some of them are really dangerous. Actually, censorship is wrong. That's my point. That's what I'm getting to. Censorship is wrong, even if some of these things offend people. Propaganda is also wrong in a different way, but it's linked. But censorship is absolutely a predecessor to violence, as we've seen again with the Charlie Hebdo stuff. But also, it's a very short walk from book banning to book burning. It's a very short walk from censoring, ideas we think are offensive to just censoring ideas that keep people that might threaten the powers that be, right? So even if you disagree with these things, even if you disagree with them, it's important to support freedom and freedom of ideas in particular. Because words do have power. I mean, they're the most dangerous thing, right? They really are. Even if as I've said, they don't actually cause harm, they are disruptive. They can overthrow governments. They can topple regimes. They can change the world. So, use them wisely. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to go play some more Hogwarts Legacy. And, the game with tons of diversity, trans characters, and all that. Yeah, the worst and most transphobic game ever made. Peace.